meeting, and then we'll send it out so people can see it.
We are now recording.
Okay, again, welcome everybody. Unfortunately, I don't have the new Zoom, which I thought was on my new laptop that I just received from the school. So I will just be able to answer your questions, but the rest of the elementary school families will be able to see this recording. So we have the agenda up now, and the next slide just going to talk a little bit about the Zoom and the protocols, which basically are just asking you to ask questions through chat room and submit your questions through that. And we're going to take those after each slide, and I'll answer them to the best I can. I may not have an answer. And actually, everything I am sharing with you tonight is possible to change. Things are changing every day. So we'll just go through this and hopefully give you as much information that I can. So I want to talk first about the work that's being done all summer here. I have a group of teachers who have been working and other staff members. So during the past few weeks, they have gotten together here at the school and remotely, teachers, special education teachers, specialist teachers, counselors, our school psychologists, parents, administrators, our public health nurse and school nurses, our facilities manager, our administrative assistant, and other staff, including support from our superintendent, working on our reopening plan. We broke that large group into 3 smaller groups. Group A focused on curriculum and remote learning. Group B has been focusing on the social emotional concerns for our students and families. And Group C focused on the nuts and bolts of returning to school. All groups concentrated on the 3 models for learning, which I will share with you. The first being all in school, the second a hybrid model, and the third all remote. Each group has prepared a plan for returning for all models. I'm going to talk about, the next slide has the full remote. No, back one.
Nope.
All right, go down one more maybe.
Health and safety.
All right, go down one more. We can go back to that.
Oh, one more? Okay.
Okay, so although school will look different this year, our vision is to provide your children with a consistent educational experience regardless of which of these models we are going with. So full remote. Remote students will meet with teachers 4 days a week with a combination of live Zoom lessons and activities, whole group and small group, recorded lessons, independent collaborative work, online resources, and content videos with follow-up activities. Our students will be accountable for attendance during remote learning. There will be a schedule created by our teachers, which will be shared with you for this full remote model. We feel that a remote school day should mirror a face-to-face day as much as possible, and there will be a start and end to the school day during the remote model. Scoring of student work will be based on our state common standards, and we will be using our current standard-based report card to report the progress of your child. Completion of all assignments, class meetings, and live instruction is expected of all students. In this model, support services will be remote. Google Classroom will be used as the classroom management platform to assign tasks to students and homework assignments and the like. Okay. I can go down to the next. Can you pull that slide down a little bit for me, please?
I don't think I can in the, yeah, I can't in the full presentation mode.
That's okay. We can move on to the next one. It pretty much covered it.
Perfect.
No. So next I want to talk about the hybrid model. This is the one that we're pretty much sure we're going to go with going forward. The hybrid model is a combination of in-school and at-home learning. So here's a sample of what it would look like, or what we want it to look like. Monday, we have 2 cohorts, cohort A and cohort B. Cohort A would be in school Monday and Tuesday. Cohort B would be in school Thursday and Friday, with Wednesday being a remote day for all students. And then that time, they will still be learning at home while the teachers use that time to plan and have time for parent communication. They will have activities to be working on and possibly working with specialists at that time. We will be utilizing the alphabet to determine which days students come to school during this hybrid model. Please note, all family members will be on the same schedule. Okay. Ian, can you?
Yep.
I'm going to see if I can see the chats. I don't know if you can. I want to go back and just look at a couple of the questions. If you all could be okay.
I got them. Will full remote be taught by a teacher in our district or a teacher we do not know outside of the district?
Your full remote will be taught by a teacher in the district.
Will there be an option to choose fully remote?
Yes, there's an option to choose fully remote.
Who will be managing the remote kids while the teacher is teaching the in-person students?
So we're going to wait till this is down another slide, but I'm happy to answer it. We will be sending out a survey. Once we can identify how many students are going to be remote, we will then look at our current staff here at the elementary school, and we will be having a teacher from grade 3, grade 4, and grade 5 to work with those remote students.
Okay. Does this pertain to families with children in different schools? Do you mean like middle school, elementary school, high school?
I think the question might be that this hybrid model will look the same across the district.
It will.
With a couple little glitches or changes. We will keep the Monday, Tuesday kids at the elementary school, and I believe the early learning every Monday and Tuesday until we are able to come back. Every Thursday and Friday, the group cohort B will be here. I think at the middle and high school, they're going to have a little bit of a different model where they'll have Monday, Tuesday, 1 week, and then they'll have Thursday, Friday the following week. So it'll be a little different than us. I believe that's the case.
I'm not sure, honestly, if that's been decided 100% yet.
Okay,
I think
so
we wanted to keep it consistent.
No, I'll clarify.
Okay.
The whole goal is to have the same system, kindergarten through grade 12 to start. So it'll be Group A will be Monday, Tuesday. Group B will be Thursday, Friday, and it'll be consistent throughout. We've built a calendar that has the same number of school days, 27 school days in the fall for Group A and Group B.
Thank you. Another question, Mrs. Harrison. Can you help us understand the reasoning that the children have 5 days of remote learning?
Oh, okay. So they would have 5 days of remote learning if, in fact, we had to close the school and be all remote due to the COVID-19. That would be the reason for that remote model. We're not looking at that right now, the full remote. We're looking at the hybrid model now, where your children would be coming in, cohort A, Monday, Tuesday, cohort B, Thursday, Friday, with the one remote day to allow for teachers to have planning time and have time to meet with parents. And during the Wednesday day, we will have instructional assistants and possibly specialists that will be reaching out on that day.
And this one has coming up a couple times. So is it going to be, families will be scheduled on the same day, even if they have children in different schools, correct?
Say that one more time.
If families have students in different schools, say elementary, middle, they'll all be scheduled on the same day.
Absolutely.
In the same cohort?
That's our plan. The families will be in the same cohort, yes.
Okay. Will the cohorts remain the same each week, or will they flip-flop?
They're going to remain the same each week.
Perfect. So
if your child is Monday, Tuesday during the hybrid model, they'll always be Monday, Tuesday, okay, for now, and Thursday, Friday the same for those families.
Will there be a way to choose which cohort your students are in, thinking based on students and families who are tied to other districts too, to make sure everyone is on the same schedule?
So in looking at that, we are sticking with the alphabet the best we can to, and we'll give you your days. I might have to adhere to Mr. Friend, but I do believe if there was a real challenge with that, we could discuss it, but we're going to have to pretty much stick to the alphabet because of the number of students that we have in this district and the number of families.
The remote Wednesday will not consist of any remote direct instruction only for teacher prep and planning?
Well, there could be some instruction for the students who may need some review or may need some help with something like a math assignment they're working on, or a reading assignment, and that would be done through our instructional assistants.
Okay. Would the days be full days of school or partial days?
Full days. The cohort A and cohort B would be here from 8:15 to 3, with a little bit of an exception when I talk about transportation, just by 5 or 10 minutes possibly, but I'll show you that slide later.
The hybrid model suggests 3 days in a row of remote learning. What is the thought about the learning progress of students with this many days in a row of remote style learning?
I really apologize. I need you to repeat that one more time. Thank you.
No problem. The hybrid model suggests 3 days in a row of remote learning. What is the thought about the learning progress of students with this many days in a row of remote style learning?
Well, as I spoke about that in the slide in the full remote learning one, which is going to be similar to the hybrid when we do have 3 days home remotely, that the teachers have been seriously working very tirelessly to make that remote day at home to mirror the days at school. In a hybrid model, that is honestly the best that we can do. They have a schedule already created of what the day will look like. And I know it's definitely a challenge for parents that work, for younger children. I feel for that, but we're doing our best that we can in this hybrid model to give the best possible education in the safest manner.
Okay, under the hybrid model, parents who choose to keep their kids home, will they have full access to remote learning?
Yes.
Okay.
All week.
All week, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know how the teachers union will react to each of the proposed models? And then there's
we work very closely with the teachers union during this process over the summer work that we have been doing. So I would say that they have looked very carefully at it, and they're aware of what all models look like.
Right. If teachers get sick, is there enough of a pool of potential temporary and long-term replacement teachers to ensure that the chosen model or models continue effectively throughout the school year?
Yeah, that's a great question. We feel strongly that we have a very solid staff here that we would be able to make it work if we needed to. If it got so much that we would need more, I think at that point, honestly, we would be all remote.
Okay. In a hybrid model, will students have 2 different teachers, a live teacher and a remote teacher?
In the hybrid model, the students on the Monday, Tuesday, when they're full in, will have obviously their classroom teacher. And on the other 2 days, they will be working on, and I can go back to that other slide, or it might be in a slide below, I can't remember at this point. They will be working on activities they give him from the 2 days they've worked together with the instructional assistants. The teachers will not be able to work with them remotely during the day because they will be teaching.
Great. And we have a couple more questions in the chat, but I know they're going to be answered later on in the presentation. So I'm just going to hang on to those so you can move ahead, Mrs. Harrison. Is that okay?
That's awesome. Thank you, Ann.
No problem. Here we go.
Okay, and at this point, do you think you could kind of scroll back up and go to that safety and health slide for me?
Sure. Yep.
Just got away.
There we go.
So obviously the safety and health are truly the most important thing that we are worried about. So these are some bullet points that came from our school nurse and our public health nurse, school nurses and public health nurse in the town of Sutton. And they come, I believe, from the state. Students who are sick will be sent home immediately and referred to their primary care physician. Students who test positive will be expected to stay home for 10 days at a minimum, plus a minimum of 3 days in a row fever-free. And when I say fever-free, I mean without fever-reducing medicines and a reduction of the symptoms that they may have had. Students who are in close contact within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes of a person who tests positive will be notified and need to be tested after 5 days of quarantine, or they would have the option of quarantining for 14 days. In all cases, parents will be notified of a student in close contact with a positive COVID case. If a student or staff member tests positive for COVID-19. It may not result in the shutdown of the school. If a series of positive COVID-19 cases happen in a short span of time, the Department of Public Health and our local board of health will consult with the Department of Secondary and Elementary Education to come to a decision if it's a time that we will start to need to be fully remote.
Okay.
So can I just chime in here for a minute? For all the parents, we realize that you want some more clear guidance on this. And so what we plan to do as we get closer to the beginning of school, when the final regulations come out from the state, we plan to have Zoom meetings across the district with Cheryl Rowinski, our public health nurse, also all the nurses in the district, so the parents can ask specific questions of our healthcare workers. Denise is an educator, I'm an educator. I think what you want is answers from the people that actually do the nursing and do the health issues instead of from us. So that will be coming in the next several weeks.
This might be a question for you too, Mr. Friend, because I don't know if we've talked about this. What is the metric that will be used to move to fully remote learning?
I'm not sure the answer to that. Again, that's why I'm saying so much of this information is still coming out in piecemeal. At a conference call with the commissioner, you know, they're saying more information in the next week and a half, 2 weeks. So I don't want to speak to something I don't have the answer to at this point. But obviously, parents are going to need to know that. Parents are going to need to know that to make, you know, these very important decisions about how they want their child educated. So unfortunately, that information probably won't be available probably for the next month or so. Also, we have to see how the virus is spreading at that time. Just to let all the parents know, school will not be beginning until after Labor Day for students. I'm sharing that now, and I'm sure Denise was going to share it later, but that'll give us a little bit more time to get ready for really this kind of unprecedented type of education across the country.
Okay. Are parents required to take temperatures every morning, and does the school have a quarantine area for kids that are sick at school?
So yes, we do have a quarantine area, which is located right outside of our nurse's office. We have 2 spaces if we need them, including the nurse's, 3 including the nurse's office. It's not far from a door where parents can pick up their kids, where they would not have to be, you know, near too many people or any people at all. It's right next door to, right around the corner from the nurse's office, the door we would use to have kids picked up at. As far as the temperature, I've heard fluctuating things on that. Mr. Friend, is that a practice we're going to ask parents to do?
Again, I don't want to speak to this now. I know that currently there is no plan to take students' temperatures before at school, before they arrive.
Mm-hmm.
But I think you'll want to get all of that information from the health experts. And again, that guidance changes almost every day. So again, I hate to keep saying be patient, but you're going to have to be patient on that answer.
And some of the questions I'm seeing are going to be coming up in other slides.
Yep. All right. So you want to just go ahead?
Well, unless you see one that's pertinent to this, but I'm coming out with some great questions, and I want to make sure I get to those families.
Yep. I am assuming a quarantining student will be able to attend remotely for those 14 days, so no lessons are missed?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And then will the classrooms be cleaned on Wednesdays before the new?
Yeah, that was the one I was going to refer to down below, but yes. So what's going to happen is Monday, Tuesday, and this falls well with this slide actually, Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays, every night it will be cleaned. There'll be a thorough cleaning, a deep cleaning, so to speak, on Wednesdays to make sure that we can get rid of it if every possible germ there is. That will be done by our custodial staff, like I said, every day, but the deep cleaning will be on Wednesdays.
Okay, great. So do you want to continue on and we can hit some of those questions in the rest of the presentation?
Yeah, you know, that would be fine. I just want to, yeah, okay. And I keep keep them at your hand there, and if I don't get
Yeah.
to it,
Absolutely. And I'm taking a couple notes on the ones that, if we need to come back to them, we can.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so bring your own device. We're asking students when they come back in September if they could please bring their own device, a Chromebook if possible. If not, that's okay. For students who do not have a device, we will provide Chromebooks to them as we did during the remote learning in the spring of 2020, this past spring. Chromebooks will be used in school and at home. So they're going to be an essential piece to the learning for the student. They, will continue to train them on Google Classroom and technology to the best of our ability, but it is a tool that the teachers strongly feel is necessary during this COVID time.
So if I could just speak to this for a minute. So our goal is to have all students with a Chromebook, but as you could well imagine during the pandemic, getting Chromebooks is going to become very, very difficult because every school district across the Commonwealth and across the country are looking to go to one-on-one initiatives. And so right now we've written 2 grants that hopefully we've already received 100 Chromebooks, and we've written 2 other grants to get significantly more. And then we're also looking later at the start of the beginning of the year to order a significant number of more Chromebooks. But the reality is these Chromebooks, most of them or many of them may not be available to the first of the year. So I just want to caution people that we may not at the beginning of the year have Chromebooks for every student who needs one and doesn't have one at home. But the goal is to have, by the middle of this year, Chromebooks for every student.
There are a couple questions in the chat, like, is the Chromebook the only acceptable device, or could the student have an iPad or another type of laptop, excuse me?
Absolutely, but I will tell you that once it is all Chromebooks, it does make it easier for the teachers, but if somebody has a different device, of course, we'll do our best to make everything work so it's compatible with what the teachers are doing.
Okay.
As in using Google Classroom, for example, kids can get onto that on their laptop, on their iPad, as such.
Perfect. All right, ready to go?
I'm ready.
Okay.
All right, so specials are going to look a little bit different this year. Our students will have their special classes, including physical education, art, technology, music, and library. However, like I said, it will look different. To prevent any cross-contamination concerns, each specialist will work with a grade level for a 6-week block. So say it's 5th grade, they would have 6 weeks of phys ed. Then after 6 weeks, the specialist would move to a different grade level. So our specialist in the, vein of keeping everybody safe will be traveling to students' classrooms to provide instruction. And like I said, just because we're very concerned about health and safety of everyone, including the teachers.
Fantastic.
And students. Do we have any questions on that? This is kind of some parents that have kids in the middle or high school, this is kind of a model that they use for their specials. So we feel this is going to be the best for now.
Something in the chat.
Questions from anyone?
Okay, yep. How will they do gym in the classroom?
Yep, so what's going to happen is when the weather is good, we're going to get them outside. If the weather's not good, Mr. S is going to be having physical activities they can do. We're only going to have about 10 kids in the classroom.
Can I just stop?
Yep.
So again, this is a question we're going to really have to answer a little bit later, because the guidance coming out from the state on physical education is pretty restrictive. And so we're not exactly sure at this time what they can do. Certainly taking students out for walks where they can be socially distanced and do it safely, but we're still going to need a little bit more clarification exactly how phys ed will not look anything like it has not looked in the past. But certainly things like taking kids for walks, doing some running and things like that. But the guidance is very interesting. No sweating, no touching, no sharing of any equipment, no fun is really the guidance we're receiving from the state. So I would just hold off until we know exactly what we are going to be able to do. And then obviously Mr. Schweitzer will share with all the parents exactly what the curriculum will be.
Mr. Friend, is that the same in music? We're still waiting on more guidelines about like chorus music, that sort of thing, because singing is a known spreader of the virus.
Yeah, so when I start doing this with my fingers through my hair, you know how frustrated I'm getting. So obviously we're going to have music, but it's going to look very, very different. And the guidance we're getting is really contradictory to what the Department of Public Safety, or DPH, is sharing with us. And so you will have music, but chorus and band, there will not be instruments being played or singing in school at this point in time. And Mrs. Dame I get 27 emails from Mrs. Dame every single day, and she's the most dogged human being I've ever met, and she is going to do everything in her power to make sure that kids are learning to play instruments, and chorus is going to take place. But a lot of that is going to be, so parents, be prepared for your children to be learning how to play an instrument from home. And I would suggest earplugs as we go forward. So we will have music, we'll have band, we'll have chorus, but they won't be playing those instruments and singing in school, unfortunately.
Thank you.
This is going back a little bit, but how many students will be in each cohort, and will they be able to maintain a 6-foot distance while in the classroom? I don't think we talked about
Yes,
that
that's
yet.
a great question, and that is one I can easily answer. They will absolutely be 6 feet apart in the classroom. We are able to do that with the space we have, and with the, especially because of the fact that we have group cohort A and cohort B. So we also have it set up already, or will be. We've tried it in a couple classrooms, where your child will be the only child at that desk. So no desk will be shared with other students from child to child.
And then there's just a comment here, maybe specials need to be only on the remote days. Art camp with Mrs. Hare remote has been fantastic, so that's great.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's great to hear. That's a really good point. That I can't answer some of these questions exactly because we're still working on all these models, but I really wanted to get to you about what we've been doing. We are looking at that remote day, possibly for some of that, and you'll be getting information if that is to happen.
Perfect. Next slide.
Okay, so transportation. With the survey that Mr. Friend did, we have many parents that are going to be dropping off their students and picking them up, their children. So the way it's going to look is drop off for students in grades 2 to 5, and you'll be getting more information on this. This is a brief slide, but you'll be getting more information. Will be in the back of the elementary school. Each family will be provided with 3 signs that are bright, like on a green, lime green cardstock with the last name of the family. 3 because 1 for each parent, and then maybe if you need to share one with a babysitter or a grandparent, or if you lose one. Students will have tags that will match that sign on their backpacks with the family name. Parents will not be getting out of the car. They will be dropping off and picking up Putnam Hill Road, to Friendly Way, which is the road that goes behind the high school, middle school, and then on down to the elementary and early learning center. In the case of students who have siblings in the Smunian Center, we will have the drop off and pick up outside the auditorium for 1 pickup. So for instance, if you had a child in kindergarten and 2nd grade, we would have it such that we would get your 2nd grade down for you for the pickup there, and you would also be dropping off your student there as well. The drop-off and pickup times are going to be a bit flexible so that will help with the flow of traffic. So drop-off times will be from 8:15 to 8:45, and pickup times will be from 2:30 to 3. With the situation with the family's name in the car and the child's card on their backpack, we will not be checking licenses.
Okay, couple of questions. So checking ID, you just addressed that. If I have a student in grade 1 and grade 3, will I have to pick them up in 2 separate locations, or will families be together?
No, we're gonna, the plan right now is to have the second grader or the third grader and the first grader head down to the auditorium and be picked up there.
Does this pertain if kids are walked or biked? Oops, sorry.
Well, we have virtually, we have, I think, 3 kids that walk to school. Very, very few choose to walk because we have no sidewalks. And certainly we do not want elementary students walking to school or riding their bike to school. And I don't know of any that have. Just one other point, we will be sending out a survey sometime within the next week to just get final numbers on how many parents will be choosing to drive their children to school or who will be choosing to take the bus. We're going to need that information to build our bus routes. And quite frankly, from a budget standpoint, with so many parents driving, we will be able to eliminate some bus routes, which will save us some money in busing, which we can use in other areas to support our students. So parents be looking for that, and we're going to be looking for specific names so that we can start doing that work. Thank you.
Okay, what if the students are in 4th, 6th, and 8th?
Well, 6th and 8th grade students will get out at 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
And the students in the elementary school will get out from 2:30 to 3.
Right.
I maybe you could have more clarity on that question.
No, I think probably what we're going to try to do, not try to do, what we have to do is make sure that families, children have the same days that they go to school. I think that's probably what they're referring to.
Okay.
So we're going to first divide the groups up by the alphabet. From there, we're going to look at siblings and making sure that that all lines up. So yes, if you have children in multiple schools, we will make sure that they're on the same day.
Right, and the 6th and 8th graders can be also dropped off together at the middle school. We also have a flexible arrival and dismissal schedule for pickups. So that will be included in Mr. Goyette's meeting tomorrow. And actually, the next question is about buses, and I know that's the next slide. So you're ready to move on? Yeah?
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, no problem.
So buses, it's a simple slide. It's basically that they're going to be running every day to school and home for the students who are not being dropped off and picked up. So we do have
Uh-oh. Denise, where did you go? We can't hear you. Maybe she muted herself. Uh-oh. Oh, she's not muted. Uh-oh. I'm sorry, folks. I know I'm the host of this meeting, but this isn't my plan to share. I don't know where Mrs. Bosher is. All right. Hold on one second here, folks. I'm just gonna stop. Let's see, maybe she left a message. She's frozen. Uh-oh. I don't know if she's gonna be able to see this. Oh, she left the meeting. She's probably gonna try to come back in. Okay, so hopefully she'll be able to get back in 1 second. I'll text her. I'm sorry for this little hiccup, folks. Admit Kelly. So I'm at 99 on mine. I know, right?
Maybe if parents have specific questions for me while Denise isn't there,
That's
they
a great
could write
idea.
a question I could.
Yeah, she's not in the waiting room. I'm sorry, Pete. You just have to wait because I have to let Miss Harrison in first once she gets going. Mr. Friend, this is one you can answer. Will there be an option for full-time in-person learning as per CDC guidelines?
Will there be an option for full-time learning?
Yep, in person.
No, it'll be, what we're going to start with is a hybrid model. And so that will not be an option. Let me just clarify that. There will be some students, some special needs students that will be going more days than just 2 days. But other than that, there is no all-in. The only all-in option is remote learning, which will be taught by a grade level teacher at each grade level, and they would go 4.5 days a week.
Okay. And there's a question in here. There's a question regarding the high school. You can email Mr. McCarthy to discuss that. Another question, what is the cohort size for all remote?
Well, we won't know that. So here's the timing. On August 10th, we have to submit our plan to the state. On August 10th or 11th, we'll be sending out a survey to parents. So parents will see the plan, and so they know, as we're talking about tonight, you'll know what the hybrid model is and what the remote model is and what it'll look like. So parents will have all that information, and then they're going to have to make a decision whether they do the hybrid model or the remote model. Once we get all that information, then we'll form our cohort group. So again, initially what parents said without knowing what the plan was, approximately 88 or 89% of parents plan to send their students back. I'm anticipating that number will go up once they know exactly what the two options are. So again, if 20, say we average 100 students per grade, if 25% want remote learning, then you'd have a class of 25. It's just going to depend, and it'll be by grade level. So, you know, the second grade cohort will be all second graders. So it's just a matter of who opts for remote learning.
Okay.
And then obviously, if you think about it, you know, if you have 25%, then your hybrid model, you'll have, you know, probably around 10 in each hybrid model, which in many ways will be great because with all the time missed, kids will get a lot of individualized attention. You know, the other thing is we're hoping that COVID will remain in, you know, under control, and we start with a hybrid model and we move to a more inclusive model. I think there are a lot of people out there worried that once cold and flu season comes, it's going to go full remote. The advantage of the hybrid model is we get practice using both systems so that either way we go, our kids will be prepared and our staff will be prepared. Is she not
Okay.
back in?
No, I don't think so, not yet.
So as far as buses go, buses.
Oh, she is.
So buses, we can have a max of between 22 students and as much as probably 25 or 26 students. If the original survey holds where 60 to 65% of parents plan on driving their students to school and only half the students come in at one time, we will have no issues whatsoever. As a matter of fact, we'll probably have less bus routes because there's far less students taking the bus. Denise, you back?
Denise, you back?
My it just went off on my laptop, which is fully charged, so I'm on my phone.
Yeah, and I somehow just drew on the screen too. I apologize for that. Okay, so I missed a bunch of questions in the chat when that was happening. So what
I'll take them.
I will make sure that Mrs. Harrison gets all the questions in the chat so they can be addressed either in, you know, further communications or frequently asked questions or something like that. Okay. So do we want to just keep going?
Sure.
Okay, and come back to the stuff. You can see my screen, right?
Not at the moment. I'm working on it. I can hear you though.
Okay.
So
lunch and recess is the next one.
Okay. So because I can't see the PowerPoint, this is just really a debacle. Lunch and recess. So lunch and recess. We are fortunate to have the space for our students to eat lunch in their classroom 6 feet apart, which will be working 6 feet apart as well. And they will be able to take off their masks while they have their lunch. If your child buys their lunch, it will be delivered to the classroom. We are hoping in good weather, students will be able to get outside 6 feet apart for lunch before they start their outside recess, weather permitting, of course. We will get the kids out front in the soccer field of the elementary school where we have plenty of space to run around and stay socially distant. That's the plan right now. If students bring their lunch to school, they will bring it into their classroom when they get there with their snack, and we will have a space for them to keep all their things in a organized fashion. Any questions on that?
Check it out. Will the windows be open like they will be in the high school?
Yes, we are hoping, well, I'm gonna say yes and no. We are hoping that with the weather is cool enough that we'll be keeping the windows open to keep the airflow moving around. If it's very hot and we have the air conditioning going, we're hoping like only the first couple of weeks could be the problem where we're going back later than normal. Mr. Friend, we talked about that today. Is it our intention? I think it is our intention to keep the windows open as much as possible.
So we're still working on that. We did a tour of the building with Roger Raymond, our facilities manager. We went with the teachers union, the SESA union, and the health department. And we just want to make sure that we follow the best possible or the best protocol for air quality in the buildings. And so in the early learning center, for instance, there are no windows. So it's kind of a closed system. So that system is going to have to work under its normal functioning. The elementary school has windows. And so we're on really hot days. I think what we're going to probably do is keep the air conditioning running. But on days where it's not hot, we'll run the air conditioning at night, turn off the air conditioning during the day, and open all the windows in the classroom. So we'll do it a day by day, but we're going to follow the guidance from the state on this, and whenever possible, we'll have the windows open in the elementary school.
Great. Ian, are there any questions?
Yep. If it's warm out, could they potentially hold classes outside?
Yes, that is something we've talked about as well. If we have plenty of space outside, we believe that if the teacher decides to take our students outside or his students outside, that will happen.
Will multiple classes interact during recess, or will they only be interacting with their own class?
That's the question that we've been discussing. For time purposes, I think we could try to spread it out a bit, that is something we're still actually looking at. I could get more than one classroom out on the big field and still keep them apart. And kids are gonna wanna run right near each other. So it's gonna definitely be kind of wait and see when we get out there to see how that all is gonna look. But our best intentions would be to keep the kids as far apart as we can, 6 feet or more.
I think this is one for Mr. Friend. Are there any upgrades being planned for HVAC, given some evidence that air exchange rather than recirculation is more beneficial? I believe there are new guidelines out for this from the feds.
I am not the expert on that, and I don't want to pretend to be. I don't know the answer to that. We've done many upgrades. Just so you know, 2 years ago we had a mold issue, so we've upgraded our entire system at that time. So all of our exhaust fans, all of the filters that we use are the more advanced filters, and so the system's in very good shape at this time. However, the system is an older system, and at this point in time, I don't know how we could possibly make any additional upgrades with the time constraints. But the system is in very good shape. And for the winter, just so everybody knows, we've replaced all of our burners and all of our boilers in both the early learning center and the elementary school in the past 2 years. So our HVAC and heating systems are in very good shape at this time.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
We have a few questions about masks. Is that coming up in the presentation, Mrs. Harrison?
It is.
Okay.
I can wait till that slide, or why don't
Yep.
we wait till that slide? That's a good idea.
Perfect. And then one more question about air quality. Has the district had an air quality specialist come in to assess the schools and provide recommendations?
I can let Mr. Friend answer that, but I believe the answer is yes.
So we haven't had one done this year, but we've had them done multiple times in the last couple of years. And so at this point, I don't see any reason to do an air quality test because we've done them. But I will certainly talk to Cheryl Rowinski and Roger Raymond to get feedback from them.
Thank you.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead to the next slide and then we can come back to masks because that was a question people had. Oh, look at that. So perfect.
Thanks, Ann. So there may be several times a day where the 3 to 6 foot distance is crossed or not feasible. We're going to hope that doesn't happen. However, to the best of our ability, we will be promoting this distancing, as I've said before. And I also said the student desks are 6 feet apart. All students will have their own desk, which I referred to earlier, and not shared. All students and staff members will be wearing a mask all day, with the exception of the mask breaks. We are asking families, and you'll get this in another letter from me, to please send in an extra mask in a labeled, that's important, labeled paper bag in case your child forgets to bring one from home. We will also have extra masks on hand for students who, may have forgotten one and didn't have one here. So yes, the mask is a very important piece of the safety and health of the students and the staff, and they will be mandatory as best they can for 2 to 5, I believe. Students also will be washing their hands numerous times a day, including but not limited to every time they enter the room and every time they leave the classroom. And we already discussed this before, but the rooms will be disinfected each night with a deep cleaning on Wednesdays. Would you like to have some questions for that, anyone?
Okay. Oh boy. Okay. Thank you for reminding me of the skipped questions. We will make our best effort to get all of them answered. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to go through and.
Yeah, you have a hard job there, Ann. I appreciate
it. Most of these questions go back to other topics. So the one related to this, how do our teachers plan to deal with the difficulty of having children wear masks for the entire school day?
With mask breaks to the best they can.
Okay. And I'm assuming this means, will they have to wear masks at recess?
That is something I have to continue to think about. I think at this point, they won't be having them in the classroom while they're having their lunch. That will be a break. They'll have a break at snack time. There'll be a couple times during the day, at least they can get outside to have a mask break. I feel that I really want to talk to the school nurse and Cheryl Rowinski, our public nurse in the town, just to be sure how she feels about them in case they were running around and did not adhere to the 3 to 6 foot, actually the 6 foot distance. 3 is not enough. You have to have your mask on with 3 feet. So I'd like to get back to you on that question, Mr. Friend.
What I would say is that these are little children, and we are going to require masks, but we're going to look to our educators. So I taught elementary school, and we're going to give our teachers some freedom to make some decisions. So if I'm teaching elementary school and it's a beautiful day, I'm going to take my kids outside, and I'm going to have them 12 feet apart, and I'm going to let them take their masks off for a while. And it's our hope that recess will set up different areas in the outside for our students. We just can't expect little kids to wear masks all day long. And so we've got, well, we've got to stop worrying about, we've got to balance the health and safety and the social emotional needs of our students with the learning, with the curriculum. And so there's going to be a delicate balance, but asking kids to wear masks all day long, when we're seeing kids getting frustrated, we're going to tell teachers, take those kids outside, let them take their masks off, get some fresh air, keep 6 feet apart, to the best of our ability. But this is going to be a difficult task for all of us, for our children, for us, for our teachers, and especially you parents that are going to have your kids coming home saying how difficult that is. And so I'm going to instruct teachers, I'm going to instruct principals. If a teacher feels kids need a mask break, take them out, period. Let them run around, let them get some fresh air. And while I'm saying this, we have to be realistic about what school is going to look like in the fall. And when parents, you're going to make a decision. Do I want my child to do full remote, or do I want my child in a classroom with 10 other children? And let's be realistic. If we think we're going to be magically able to keep kids 6 feet apart at all times, that's an unrealistic expectation. If we're going to, it's an unrealistic expectation to think that teachers of little children are going to magically stay 6 feet away from these children. That's not real. That's not how education can be. And it'll have a lasting detrimental effect on our children. We are going to do our best to keep our kids 6 feet apart, and we'll do everything we can, but it all has to be balanced. It's just, we can't be unrealistic about what we're going to expect of our children and our teachers. So it's just not possible. These are little kids. So I caution people, if they're expecting to send their children to school and magically we're going to keep this 6-foot circle around everybody, I just don't think it's realistic. And I don't want you to think that that's going to be realistic. I will tell you, I've watched groups of students in a Title I program and our aftercare program, and they do their best to stay 6 feet apart, but more often than not, when I walk by them, they're 3 or 4 feet apart. And I think that's going to be reality, and we have to accept and expect that to be the case.
Okay. Will students be able to take their masks off while sitting at desks 6 feet apart?
I'll take this. I asked that very question of the health folks today, and the answer that I received was no. A categorical no. And so, so I'm going to tell you at this point in time, it is no. However, I'm hoping, I got my fingers crossed, that down the road, it might be allowed. But actually, the CDC is going actually the opposite direction with the 6 feet and wearing masks because of, and especially with little kids sneezing and other things little kids do. So at this point, yeah, you're going to wear masks even 6 feet apart.
Okay. Are there cleaning logs that will be filled out confirming that cleanings are happening?
Yes, our custodians always leave a log. Often they'll leave a sign on the door that the room has been thoroughly cleaned and disinfected. And I did see a question about, the cleaning products that we have. We've ordered everything we need to have to keep the rooms clean. And many of the products have already come in, and we're waiting on some others, but those will be available to teachers and students.
So,
Clorox wipes and the like. Mr. Friend?
let me chime in just a little bit. So in the grant that we're receiving from the state, and I'm not exactly sure where the money comes from. I don't know if it's federal money that's funneled through the state, but we have an entitlement grant of $297,000 that we are writing at this moment. And in that grant, we're going to buy some Chromebooks, but we're going to look to hire some part-time adjustment counselor support. We're looking to hire additional nursing support, and we're going to hire some additional custodial support. And so my plan is to hire a part-time custodian for the Early Learning Center Elementary School, a part-time custodian for the middle high school. And the sole responsibility of those two positions are to go in and use our fogging machines that disinfect the entire, all educational spaces each and every single night, which will allow our other custodians to go in and do their regular cleaning plus additional cleaning. Because remember, only half the students are going to be there at any one time. And so there'll be opportunity for our regular custodians to do additional cleaning. So that is all going to be taken care of through this grant.
Okay.
Thank
There
you.
was a question about PPE being provided to the teachers. What PPE will be provided to your teachers and staff? That's also included in some of the grant money that we're receiving.
Yes.
Yes.
So all teachers are being, a generous community member has made masks for all our teachers. We have tens of thousands of masks ordered. We have gowns for all of the frontline workers, our nurses, with the face shields, with the masks. We have ordered $36,000 of hand sanitizer. So every classroom will have a hand sanitizer unit in those rooms. And that's just for the first half of the year. We've ordered thousands and thousands of gloves. And so we will have all the PPE that we need to operate our school system.
Okay. Will we receive a list of school supplies that children need for all of these learning options?
We are working on that now.
Okay. The bathrooms at school will likely be a place where infections could spread quickly. Are the bathrooms and/or bathroom fixtures going to be disinfected after each child uses the bathroom?
Oh, that's a question I haven't heard yet. So Ann, make sure we write that down, and I'll
Okay.
get some feedback about how best to handle that.
We have, that is a big discussion in the committees I've been working on over the summer, just so you do know. And we're gonna have it so that every other stall, will not be able to be used. So we keep the kids apart. And we're still trying to figure out the plan of that exact question, which is a great one.
So I'm gonna need some help from some parents on this call. Unfortunately, we have two different Zoom accounts. We have a Zoom account that's open to 500 people. We have a Zoom account open to 100 people. So the people on this account were the first 100 people. So I'm getting bombarded with emails from parents upset, and I don't blame them because they couldn't get on this account. We will do another one of these meetings within the next several days, either tomorrow or the next day. Well, tomorrow we won't do it because we have middle school, but we will do it early next week for the parents that didn't get on it. So
And
if
I'm
you go on
recording this
Facebook,
too.
we're recording it, but they deserve a right to ask questions and to hear this firsthand. So we will do another meeting. So if you're on Facebook, let them know that I've sent out a text message, but just let them know we will do another one of these Zoom meetings for those parents.
And I actually, after this meeting, will share this PowerPoint as well and apologize to the families because of the 100 limit.
Okay. Do we want to take some more questions before we move on? Because I have a bunch here.
Yep.
Okay. Are there any health concerns related to the repeated use of fogging disinfectants in the schools or classrooms?
We've been using these for the last 2 years, and we use them all winter long. On average, every other day in every classroom, we've had no issues.
Okay, and then someone just commented to make available the names and ingredients of the cleaning agents used, which is a great suggestion. That came up in the high school meeting too. Are face shields an option rather than face masks for students?
No.
Right. If they had a face shield, they would also have to wear a mask, or they would have to have a gaiter, which is like
the gaiter
underneath.
Right.
They could do that. They could do a face shield with a gaiter.
Right.
And they sell those.
They do.
They sell everything now. Whatever you want, you can get.
Okay, will the bathrooms still be using hand dryers, or will paper towels be provided instead?
No more hand dryers.
The hand dryers will be not being used. It will all be paper in the bathrooms.
Okay, are gators only okay?
I think
Without-
the gator. Some of the teachers have worn the gaiters, Mr. Friend. I'll get clarification on that, and I'll send it in an
Yeah,
email.
we'll have to get clarification. Disney World doesn't allow them anymore, so I don't know what that means, but I'm not sure. We'll get clarification to people.
Okay,
Thank you.
will lockers be used?
At this point, we're not planning on using lockers because the kids would be too close in contact, we feel, but we have plenty of room with only having 10 to 12 desks in the classroom for the kids to have some type of a crate or something to have all their stuff in.
Okay, so I think I have all the questions on social distancing, masks, hand washing, room cleaning. There's a couple about the hybrid and remote models. Do you want those now, or do you want to wait on those?
I can take them.
Okay, because like two came in at the same time. Can we change our mind and go full remote if our child is having a hard time with the hybrid? So that was there twice. If we choose full remote, are we able to switch back to hybrid? So can you switch between the two models is the question.
Yes, you can. The answer is yes.
The answer is yes, but we'll probably put some parameters around that so that we don't have people jumping back and forth every other day. And so we might put in, say, on the first of every month, if you commit to remote, we might say you've got to do it for 1 month. But again, we're working on those parameters because we just can't have and by the way, maybe it'll turn out that we have very little of this happening and we won't have to put some requirements in place. But at this point, we're going to put some parameters around it. At least that's our initial thought.
Okay, great, thank you.
Thank
That
you.
came up a couple times, so excellent. Will those fully remote be provided with workbooks and other materials at the beginning of the year that they would have used in the classroom?
Absolutely, yes.
Perfect. All right, now there's a couple more down here. Okay, if we choose the remote model, will our child have the same teacher the entire week, unlike hybrid?
So for the full remote, they're asking if their classroom teacher will be working with them?
The entire week, yes.
Yes, well, yes, they'll be with their teacher in the classroom for the hybrid. Fully remote, it will not be necessarily their classroom teacher, it will be a teacher. Because as I said before, our teachers will be in 5 days a week, teaching the two cohorts and then having that Wednesday day.
Will there be any professional development / training opportunities for paraprofessionals as they will be responsible for remote learning days, which will account for more than half of the student learning days? So is there any PD for paraprofessionals?
Yes, we do have PD for paraprofessionals when they come back.
All right. If there are only 10 to 12 desks in a classroom, then the desks are going to be shared with a student in a different cohort, correct?
Not at this point. Because it's the for the hybrid, yeah, that would be the case if we didn't have hybrid. Because we have the hybrid model, we have the space to separate the desks 6 feet apart so that we can allow for that many in a classroom. Probably up to 8, 16, 17, something like that.
Okay. And if there is any overlap, they are going to be cleaned nightly as well.
Absolutely,
probably multiple times
hoping
for the
that
day.
they can have their own. It's a luxury if they can have their own desk, in my opinion, and we're trying to make that work. And you'll have, that's our decision for the moment. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Okay, this is a big one. Is there data showing that one teaching model is better than another? For example, will parents who choose the hybrid model be getting a better education for their children than those who choose the remote model? Can teachers teach to the same standard and effectiveness with either model? So
That's a great question.
it's a
Again,
hard question. Yeah.
it's a hard question. Face-to-face is always the best, but through the technology and Zoom, we truly are hoping that the kids who are fully remote will be mirroring what the kids are getting in the school with a certified teacher.
I have seen no data because this is all so new,
Hasn't happened.
and I think it's really going to be a difficult choice for parents. And I feel for you. I know, and and I sent that email to everybody. In my case, I think I would send my kids because I think the value of face-to-face, seeing other children their own age, some semblance of normalcy. But as a parent pointed out to me, yeah, but we're all wearing masks at the same time. So which is the best situation? But when the final plan comes out, you'll see exactly what our hybrid model will look like in detail and exactly what the remote plan will look like in detail. And if you want to call a teacher or the principal or myself and seek some advice, we'll be available to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Do students have interaction or Zoom meetings with teachers on days that they are home?
So the teachers are going to be teaching full-time on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. It could be a possibility if the kid had a question. I don't know if that would be something they would be able to do when they're not in front of the students. But basically, they're going to be in front of the students full-time on those 4 days. And then they would be available for parent communication, like I said. And the planning is a big thing, even though it may not seem like it is. But where they're working to plan for remote learning and in-school learning, it is quite a bit of work.
Is Sutton using all 10 days that the state has given us to prepare? And will we be starting mid-September? Just to retouch on that point.
Yep. So I believe we're using all of them. We're starting after Labor Day. I don't know if this is definitive. Mr. Friend may be able to answer it. I believe we're looking at starting on the Thursday after Labor Day.
When will the cohorts? Oops, sorry.
Oh gosh, I'm looking at myself. Am I on?
I see you.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So it's still up in the air. The school committee is in charge of the calendar. Right now, our current calendar that I'm going to present to the school committee on the 10th of August, and we're still kind of shuffling around days, but we'll use the 10 full days to prepare our teachers, our instructional assistants, our cafeteria workers, everyone who works in the district to prepare for the hybrid model and to prepare for remote learning. So in all likelihood, school will start on Monday, September 14th. I believe that's a Monday. So that's not 100% official yet, but I believe that'll be the first day of school for students.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question is, when will the cohorts be decided?
Well, we're discussing that now. I think there's going to be a decision that's made soon, and because we need to get the surveys back once they're sent out, and that's a further slide I'll show you down soon, and then we can answer that then.
Okay. Do you have a slide, I can't remember, on specifically about parameters for remote learning? Do you have a slide on that, like just how that might look?
Just the one that I already had gone over in the beginning.
Okay.
And I'm sending this slideshow out to everyone so that they can have it to look at again and maybe come back with more questions.
Okay, well, the question here is, will all the teachers be on the same page? Because in the spring, there were Zooms in the evening versus the morning, and some of the material for the grades was much lighter than other grades. So are there going to be parameters developed around that?
That's a great question. Yes, the teachers have this committee that's been working together, and there's teachers from all grade levels, 3, 4, and 5, including special education teachers, are working on a schedule that the students will follow and be accountable for in the remote and in school learning. And it will be the teachers that may not have had any experience with Zoom we are providing PD for that in August and September.
Okay, is there any
And that-
third, oops, sorry, go ahead.
So, I'm sorry, but that's why the Wednesday is so important. So first of all, it'll be regular school. We'll be correcting papers or grading using online tools. Curriculum will move forward. The curriculum will be a little bit more condensed because we won't be in school as long. Now I've lost my train of thought. But if you're full remote, it's during the day. It's not it's not in the evenings. It will be during the day. If we so plan on a regular school day. If you choose full remote, it's a regular school day. Students will be asked to work, you know, basically the same schedule as the kids in school.
Okay.
There is going to be a schedule of schools. It's our hours are going to be 8:30 to 2:45, and those will be the hours for the kids at home and at school.
Okay.
And you'll have that schedule from your teachers before school starts, or when school starts.
All right. Is there any third-party content to be used, like Khan Academy or Zern or anything like that?
We are looking at many different resources with our technology director and coming up with the best resources that we can within our budget and even outside of our budget, because we will have some, I believe, grant money. But we are, go ahead, Mr. Friend.
So right now, the state is looking to purchase 2 different educational management platforms. So they're going to decide which platforms they are sometime this week. And I'll remind everybody, this week starts August. So we're going to look at those platforms. We can buy into those platforms at a reduced cost. So once we have access to those platforms, we're hoping that we'll be able to, we're certainly looking to tap into those platforms for grades 6 through 12. But we're going to look at those platforms and see what components we might be able to tap into for a hybrid model and our full remote model. Because I hear people's concerns, and they're legitimate. Those other 3 days the kids aren't in school, you don't want it to lapse back into, you know, and our teachers did a great job. However, we want to make sure that we're moving education forward. We're not treading water. These kids need as much help as they can to get caught up and to move forward. So if those platforms are beneficial, we will look to use grant money and purchase those platforms for our students and our families.
Thank you.
Okay. The most recent questions coming in are surrounding parental involvement. So what will a remote learning day look like if the teachers won't be doing Zoom with students? And will parents be expected to be teaching students from 8:30 to 2:30, 3 days per week? And then I'll let you take that one and then I'll do the follow-up.
Okay, thank you. So remote students, you know, will meet with a teachers or their teachers 4 days a week with a combination of live Zoom lessons, like I said earlier, and activities, whole group, small group, recorded lessons, independent collaborative work, online resources, and content videos that will follow up with activities that go along with those. So they will have a teacher. They will be accountable for attendance during remote learning. There will be a schedule created, like I said earlier, by our teachers, which will be shared with you for this full remote model. We feel that a remote school day should mirror a face-to-face day as much as we possibly can, and that's what we've been working on for the past 3 weeks. So I don't know, I hope that answers the question. We will be using Google Classroom for the classroom management platform to assign task assignments, and Zoom sessions will be held at regularly occurring times.
Okay. If parents are working or teaching full-time, will it be acceptable for students to fulfill their work in the evenings when parents can help them? That's in the full remote model.
Our ultimate goal was to have the students start school at 8:30 and finish at 2:45. That would be something I need to bring back to the teachers and have to ponder, and I will get back on that question.
I don't know how you could do the full remote model as we're going to design it and do it in the evening. I just don't know if that's doable at this time.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, Mrs. Harrison. In the last question about the remote learning, what it looks like at home, the question was pertaining to the hybrid model. So if cohort A is in school Monday and Tuesday, what do Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday look like for those kids?
Okay, so thanks for that clarification, Ann.
Sorry about that.
Monday and Tuesday, like I said, cohort A will be in school while cohort B is doing the remote learning. And Thursday, Friday, when cohort B is here, cohort A will have the remote learning, and the teachers have a plan in place for what their day will look like on their remote learning time. And that will be coming out for parents once it's completed.
Okay.
So they will have a full day, just like the students in the remote learning for 5 days. They will have a full day of activities and resources. They will work on tasks that can build upon what they're getting face-to-face, and they will participate in morning meetings, end of the day meetings, checkouts, and that kind of a thing. They have I feel they have a very strong plan going for that hybrid model for those days that students have to work at home.
Okay. Just to retouch on grading, is it going to be a pass-fail system or an actual grading system?
No, actual grading system. We will be using our standards-based report card, standards-based scoring, as you've seen in the past. And that is what we'll be using, and they are going to be accountable for their work, remotely or in school, both.
When will we find out who our students have as a teacher?
Okay, that's a great question. So that's something that we continue to work on. We have to wait for those surveys to come back. Once the surveys come back and we know what students are remote and what students are hybrid, we will be able to do the list. It's going to take time once they come in. It's cohort A, cohort B. Right now, they are fully in one classroom as if we were coming back to school. The classes were made, but there's going to be a lot of work to be done, and I expect them to come out by the end of August.
Great. I know I missed some of the questions in the chat. I can either go back, or do you want to continue with the presentation and see what other information?
We can continue. We can take more after. And by the way, once I have some help to get the 500 people Zoom on my laptop, any of you that are here tonight, or if you have more questions, you're welcome to join that, which I will be reaching out after this meeting to the families who I feel very disappointed and sorry that they aren't able to be here because of that mistake. So why don't we go on to materials. So the supply list will be provided on our school website. We are going to be asking the students to keep supplies at home and at school that match each other so that we will be able to utilize those whether we're hybrid, part in, part out, or full remote. If you need us to provide those materials, please get in touch with me. We are more than happy to do that. And those lists will be on the website. I can also send that home in a alert now. We are limiting shared materials, probably 95%. If there is a chance that we needed to share material, the material would be, or the resource would be cleaned and disinfected thoroughly between children for accessing them. We are unfortunately asking children not to bring toys, games, stuffed animals, or any other non-school items in the interest of health and safety. For this year coming up, we are not going to be ordering agenda books. We are going to use, regardless of the model, all in, remote or hybrid. Our teachers will use Google Classroom to assign their homework every day.
Okay, great. And it looks like we're clear for questions on this slide.
Oh, good. So the next slide is parent survey class lists. I just talked about classes. I can talk a little more about that maybe, but that parent survey will be sent out, and I think Mr. Craig might have mentioned this, on August 10th. with clear choices for the upcoming school year. We really need those back by the 14th of August so that we can start to begin the work of compiling class lists to alert you which cohort your child or children will be in. And like I said, we are planning to send those class assignments home by the end of August. If you do have a family member, families that do have different last names, if you could please email me with that information, that would be very helpful.
And Mrs. Harrison, if I could just add, this question popped up in the chat again. Cohorts are going to be determined alphabetically, and our priority is to keep siblings together in the same cohort across the district.
Absolutely, yes. Yep.
Okay, no questions on that slide. We made it to the end. It's a wrap.
Well, this was my practice one. Now I'm going to do it again. Thank you so much for your time and always your continued support. I really have to thank Ann Corin, our assistant principal for our middle school, high school, for co-hosting, and my administrative assistant, Cheryl Fosher, who's here working with me. If you want to speak to me privately after this meeting, you can email me or call me. And that information is on this presentation, which I'll be sending home tonight. But I just want to assure you, without a doubt, your children are our highest priority, and we will continue to provide them with the best education in the safest manner possible during these challenging times, and I really mean that. And if you are talking to your friends who couldn't get into this meeting, I will be giving them that information after we exit this meeting, but please let them know it was a mistake that I wish didn't happen. And I can take questions if there are any more coming in.
Yep.
Ann?
Sure. Let's see. Do you know what teachers for each grade are assigned to do the remote learning? And will we know who it is before we make our choice?
That's
just asking the question.
I got to mute myself. I'm sorry.
So I can answer that question for you. No, I don't know at this point. I know that we will be having somebody available for full remote from our staff, a certified teacher, and probably working with an IA or two. That will not be possible to make your choice. Once you make your choice, you'll be given, that's kind of a really hard question. I mean, if you get your teacher and decide that isn't the teacher you wanted, so then you're going to stay home, that's an interesting question because I don't know how many people would plan on that. So I just want to say that once you get your student's assignment, that will be the assignment. And I've taken many calls and emails from families. As you know, we don't put out letters anymore for, picking or any of that. But if you had a concern about your child for a friend or an anxiety issue or the like, that's all been taken into consideration in the lists that have been made already, which took us long hours to do.
How will Chromebooks be handed out, and will there be one available for every student?
Well, we did address that, which maybe that we didn't hear this part of it, so I'm actually happy to speak to this again. We're asking students in September who can bring in a device to do that. Ones who are not able to do that, or they don't have one or whatever, we have ones we can give out as we did in the spring. And by January, we are hopeful to have a Chromebook from our school to all students available.
Okay, the next question, actually, it's up here a couple times. What about students with IEPs?
Okay, that's great. I would like those parents, like specific to what with the IEPs, is there a specific question to it? Because there's so many that could be.
I think what people are getting at is if your child has an extensive IEP and they're going to need more time in school, then you'll be meeting with your team chair, the new special education director, but they're working on a grid that identifies the needs of all special needs students. And there will be some special education students that are going to need to come more than 2 days a week just to get OT, PT speech services that they wouldn't otherwise be able to get if they weren't in school. So there will be a number of students on IEPs that will be coming to school more than 2 days a week. Okay. If you have an individual question about your child, I would reach out to Andrea Thomas, she's our new special education director, and she's wonderful, and she will be able to provide those answers for you. Or you can reach out to Mrs. King, who's the team chair, and she can provide that information as well.
Great, thank you. Is there any support offered for dual income households that have to make a choice between staying home to teach their child or keeping their job? I'm guessing that's a question for Mr. Friend.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure. Is there any support offered for dual income households that have to make a choice between staying home to teach their child or keeping their job?
I wouldn't even know how to answer that question, but that is something that keeps me up at night. I think about all the families where both parents have to work, and I know that Aftercare is looking at locations in town to possibly offer daycare for parents, but I don't know how we could possibly do anything else other than to try to find some way to reasonable cost for daycare options. But I feel for those families, and it's a major problem. I mean, not just facing Sutton, but facing this entire country. And people have to work, and this is a major problem for so many families across this country. And I'm very concerned about that. But at this point, we really, I don't know how we could provide additional supports at this time.
Okay, thank you. Will you be providing a detailed COVID response plan?
Yes, on August 10th. On August 10th, we will have our plans out that we have to provide to the state of Massachusetts. The school committee will vote it that night, and we will provide that plan to all members in the community.
Thank you. Just to clarify, who is teaching the remote days for kids that are doing the hybrid model?
I'm going to go back to my slide on that.
Sure.
So on remote days, students will work on tasks that build upon their face-to-face learning with their teacher on the 2 days they are here. They will participate in meetings using Zoom, end of the day meeting checkouts, and they will have support from their, it might not be there, from an instructional assistant if they need review or support in any way.
Okay, and okay. I guess as a follow-up to that, so remote gets a teacher 5 days a week and hybrid gets a teacher 2 days a week.
So I've had that question before and I appreciate it. We feel like the face-to-face time is very valuable for the 2 days. If you're comfortable to send your child, and we understand if you're not. So there will be a teacher working, one teacher will be working with the remote students on those 4 days, not 5 days. Because on that Wednesday, they'll be needing to work with the planning with the teachers. The remote teachers are gonna have to work with the classroom teachers who are teaching the hybrid students. So we had a long discussion about that, and the teachers on the committee felt as though, you know, the face-to-face with them, the 2 days and the 2 days, it would, you know, be, if you want to say the word fair, if you're keeping your students home for the remote, we have to provide them an education as we do to the students that are coming in for the hybrid. And I can actually maybe get further information on that, but right now, yes, the students who are remote will have a teacher for the 4 days, and the students who are hybrid will have support on the 2 days they're not here. But it might not be necessary, it can't be with their classroom teacher, she'll be teaching that other cohort. I hope that makes sense to people.
So let's just be honest here. It's not going to be ideal. It's not even going to be close to ideal. and our teachers are going to provide work for your children when they're not in front of them. But yes, this again puts tremendous pressure on parents and supporting their children through this process. It's not ideal. And so that's why parents are going to have a very difficult decision to make. Do I do full remote and not have my child have interactions with other students on a regular basis, but still have a teacher 4.5 days a week versus full-time teacher 2 days a week? And you will have access to those teachers. Teachers will provide, I'm sure parents will be emailing teachers, and teachers will provide guidance, will provide support with IAs, but it's not the same. So we've got to be honest with you. It's just not going to be. It's not going to be the same until we have
Vaccine.
this virus under control and our kids can come back to school 5 days a week. It's just that simple.
Thank you.
Is there an established tipping point or percentage where the level of positive infections causes a school shutdown and thus necessitate an abrupt shift for all students to a remote learning model?
Okay.
I would just say that, once we have this plan in place, that will be something that I'll have the Cheryl Rowinski address with the parents at a later point in the year. I don't know the answer to that question. They're still giving more guidance from the Department of Public Health. And so parents will know what that tipping point is. I will say this, I think that's why the hybrid model is so important, so that students get experience doing both, so that when we do flip the switch, and let's be honest, we get the cold and flu season, and we don't know if a child has a cold, the flu, or COVID-19, we're probably going to flip that switch at some point. And so the more we can train our students to learn how to use Google Classroom, use either their Chromebook or their own personal device, so that they're ready. So when we do flip that switch, we will go full remote. Another thing I'll let everybody know, once we put the calendar out for the school days, if there is a snow day, it'll be a remote school day for all students.
Oh,
so once you get the calendar, you'll know the last day of school and the official last day of school, because there will be no snow days.
Mr. Friend, where are we getting our data from? That was another question, part of that question.
Our data from what?
Our data on the virus in Sutton, Department of Public Health?
Yes, we'll get that directly from Cheryl Rowinski, the public health nurse for the town of Sutton. And she's the one who tracks all of the COVID cases. I met with her this morning. There are actually no confirmed cases in Sutton today. And so we're looking pretty good in Sutton, but unfortunately I do read the news, and I did see that teenage drinking party in Spencer, and did see that there was someone from Sutton involved in that drinking party. And, those are the things that can just go from one town to the town of Sutton can spread. But right now, knock on wood, no cases, no confirmed cases in Sutton that have been brought to the attention of Cheryl Rowinski.
I just went back. I think we answered a lot of the questions that I missed earlier in the chat. This one is about buses. Will the buses be able to keep siblings and neighbors together who have been quarantined together?
So the bus, well, if they're on the same bus and they're in the same neighborhood, they'll be on the same bus. Now, siblings will be allowed to sit together. So siblings can sit together on the bus, but that is all. I think that's probably what they're asking. So siblings can sit together, and there's a diagram that the state provided us that'll have every other seat. It's kind of crazy, but we can fit approximately 25 students on the bus.
Thank you.
Will the nurses be doing COVID testing?
Not at this time that I'm aware of.
Okay. Is there a specific make or model of Chromebook that we should purchase? Or are Windows laptops okay?
If you have a Windows laptop, that's fine. And that's a great question. Hopefully, Han, you keep a note of this. I will have our tech director send out the specs that we're purchasing, and we'll get that out to all parents. That's a great question.
Yeah, and I do think that Macs can.
Macs do run Chrome. It just looks different.
Right.
Oh, the Google Classroom looks a little bit different. That's all.
Okay.
Yep.
That is the end of the questions in the chat. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen right now.
Thank you.
And
I appreciate everybody's questions and everybody being here. When we leave the meeting, I will be sending out alert now to the families who were not able to join us to let them know I'm rescheduling, and I will be sending out the PowerPoint to all families so that you have a copy of it. I appreciate your time, and if you do talk to people who couldn't make it again, let them know I send my apologies.
One more questions coming in. Can we have a list of those people that plan to teach remote?
I appreciate that question, but right now I don't know those names.
Let me just share one other question that came up in the Early Learning Center. A question came up because if you're going to do the hybrid model, I think what a lot of families are probably going to look to do if they can is maybe build small cohorts of students that are in their class to maybe work together and share resources. So we will provide parents with class lists so that you can, if you choose to, maybe work something out with other families to try to work together under these unprecedented times. So, communicate with Mrs. Harrison and your classroom teachers, and they will be allowed to provide you with the names of the other students, like we do every year anyway.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to go have dinner. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Friend. Thank you,
Mr.
everyone.
Friend.
And Ian, thank you so much.
No problem. I can stay on for
Sarah.
a second, Denise.
Okay, that would be great. I would appreciate that.
I'm going to stop recording.